welcome to the start of another weekly reading vlog. So it's Sunday night. I got home quite late today. Josh and I actually went and did things this weekend. His birthday was last Wednesday, so yesterday night we went out with his parents to our favorite Greek restaurant, and then afterwards we went and did lunar mini golf, which was a lot of fun. They had like a conspiracy theme going on, so they had like alien and a Bigfoot, and they had some really original holes, and there was like one where it was like one of those tilt tables that you had to like maneuver. Anyway, then today, Josh and I went and played disc golf, which was a lot of fun because today was quite nice after last week where we actually had basically an ice storm. It wasn't as bad as the last few years, but still an ice storm. So everybody was happy that it was hitting 60 degrees and out. It was very, very busy. We still had a lot of fun. We just got very winded. It just had been a hot minute since we'd done that, so my shoulder was getting sore, and then it was getting hotter out, and as you can kind of see, I actually got a little sunburned. So we ended up going to get tacos and lazing around, and I basically just didn't want to leave because that meant getting up and, you know, actually having to drive home. Anyway, now that I've given you an entire recap of my whole weekend, for the reading vlog portion of this video, I'm going to be reading the books that I picked from my TBR jar pulls. Unfortunately, I had two picks for physical books. I say unfortunately, but honestly, like, this won't be too bad. For a gifted book, we have Well Traveled by Jen DeLuca, which is the last book, I think, in the Well Met romance series. And in this one, we're following Dex, who is a little bit of a player, and Lulu, who is a new face at the Renaissance Fair, and a romance ensues. I've heard from Catherine Zofrey that apparently this is a romance, but a lot heavier than she was expecting, which I tend to like those sort of books, but it also depends on how it's handled. We'll see how that goes. The other physical book I went with was for These Books Will Deconstruct or Self-Destruct, whichever label it is. I don't actually have a list for that, but I do have my 10 books that I want to get read in 2023, which is kind of the same thing for me. And I'm reading We Are Okay by Nina LaCour. This was on my list because I borrowed it from Josh, and honestly, I need to give it back to him. I've had it on my shelves for quite a while. I actually recently borrowed a book from his mom also, and I probably should read that here soon too, but probably won't be in this vlog. The book from my digital shelves was Just Like Mother by Anne Haltzel, which I will probably be reading via audio. I know it's like a cult book, and it has a super creepy cover. Lexi and Michelle have praised it a ton, and that's kind of all I really needed to put it on my TBR. As for the books I'm currently in the middle of, I'm going to show this, and it's going to be very obvious, the video idea that I have planned. Watch Over Me by Nina LaCour. I just hit myself in the face. I'm currently about 40 pages into this, and thus far I'm intrigued. I mean, we have our main character, and it seems that she was in a foster home and now has gotten a job at this farm that takes in foster kids or like emergency placement foster kids, and she's going to be a teacher for a 9-year-old little boy, and there's ghosts that walk the property. Weird. Josh actually got me this for one of those mystery book packages. I think it was like last Valentine's Day. Still have the little tag in here, and it said, a gripping and exquisitely moving story of trauma and healing, a girl in a remote place all alone, but wait, there's ghosts. Thus far, it does seem like this person did a good job describing this, and I appreciate the way they did the ghost thing. Like, I didn't realize they were gonna get mentioned so quickly. I thought that was gonna be more like a spooky, mysterious sort of thing. No, they get talked about in like the first chapter. So basically, I have 4 books that I need to get read this week, and am I gonna actually read right now when I have free time? No, I'm not. Actually, I think I'm gonna journal just because I was in the mood for it and I feel like I could use it. That's what I'm gonna do. Hopefully it won't take too long and I actually get some reading done before I need to go to bed, but we'll see. Hey y'all, so it's Monday. Happy Monday. I was anticipating that I was going to be actually working out of the office today, but that didn't happen, so I ended up working from home, which I'm not really complaining about. It wasn't too bad. And then I actually ended up having to run over to my brother's to kind of like help out and babysit for a little bit, so it worked out very well. Please excuse my general appearance right now. I took Faith on a quick walk. I did a strength training workout thing, and it was very nice. Definitely feeling at my shoulders, especially seeing as how I only use like 5-pound weights, because she makes you feel it. But I have actually surpassed the halfway point into Watch Over Me. I'm currently at 153, and I am enjoying this. Definitely like a very eerie, haunting, unsettling feeling throughout the entire book. You can so feel the main character Mila's loneliness. Even though she's living on what is essentially a compound with all these different people, she is still so separated. And the boy who she is teaching, the key reason she got hired was to take care of this singular boy. He kind of feels the same way, so they're bonding over this. And then we're finally starting to see her bonding with some of the other teachers who are also there, sort of similar in age, I believe. It's very interesting that there's this magical realism element with ghosts. Very cool. They're just kind of accepted as being real. Mila can see them, but apparently some people can't. And for one reason or another, a bunch of them show up on this farm, which does sort of tie into possibilities of a mysterious element going on. On one hand, it's like I want to believe that this hippie commune is just wholesome and sweet and pure, but on the other side, could be a little sketchy, a little sus. We're also seeing flashbacks of Mila dealing with trauma from, unfortunately, living with her mother, who was a teenage mom and clearly was taken advantage of by an older man, and the very tumultuous relationship that that family unit had. It's not as aggressive as beatings, but it's still very clearly abuse, and just anytime we see those flashbacks, it's like I just want to punch this dude in the face. He sounds like the absolute worst, but anytime he talks, it's like, you know, he's one of those people that thinks he's the smartest person in the room. Really, he's just talking out of his ass the entire time. So yeah, I am enjoying this a lot more than I was initially expecting going into it. I mean, I've heard pretty middle of the road things on this, but across the board, I have heard fairly positive things on Nina LaCour's writing, and I definitely see why people sort of call her the queen of emo girls. Mila definitely fit in that. And her atmosphere is just really impressive too, particularly because her writing isn't like flowery, it isn't super quotable, it's very simple, it's very easy, but it just has so much emotion in it, and I'm very impressed. Anyway, so plans for tonight, I'm actually supposed to be FaceTiming with my friends, so probably gonna be doing that for a while. I was also gonna help my mom make dinner, but she's having to work a little late, so that might not happen. I'm not really sure, honestly. Which I should probably go ask about, because I am hungry. And then between all of that, I'm gonna work on editing this video and also reading some more, because like I said, I am enjoying this and I've been working through it pretty quickly. We're gonna film this quickly because my brother and my nephew have already FaceTimed me asking me where I am. But hi, so since I last talked to you, I hung out with my friends last night, and towards the end of it, we all were just kind of starting to do our own thing and just catch up every once in a while. So I worked some more on Watch Over Me, and then I actually basically didn't get out of bed until I finished this last night. And I actually really like this. It's not like I wasn't expecting I was going to dislike it. I just didn't have the highest expectations going in. By the end of this book, I really enjoyed it. I think it was quite impactful. Hauntingly beautiful discussions around trauma and grief. The representation of how you deal with it and like the way it was done with the ghost elements was just very clever. I'm really impressed that this was impactful as it was, given the fact that it's like not even 300 pages. Meaning I'm pretty excited to pick up the next book by Nina LaCour, which I will also be talking about in this video once I get to it. But seeing as how both of those books are fairly sad, I thought, let's break up that monotony with a little bit of romance. So I started into Well Traveled this morning. I clearly have already had a few tabs. I'm at about 70 pages in. This one we are following Lulu, who is cousins with Mitch in the third book, and Dex, who is cousins with Daniel in the second book. I like Lulu. She's a little bit of a workaholic, but she ends up kind of losing it for a little bit and quitting her job while attending a Renaissance fair. Luckily, she ends up running into 𝗖cie and Daniel from the second book, and they sort of adopt her into joining the Ren Fair. I really appreciate the fact that she's trying to like find a happiness for herself because she doesn't want to be so obsessed with this goal-oriented life her parents have forced her into. She's always been obsessed with trying to be as successful as possible, and now she's kind of just being. And I really like this narrative that's taking place. Then obviously we have the romance element. Dex is a bit of a Casanova, so clearly we're gonna have like a reformed bad boy thing going on. Thus far I don't feel particularly strong about the romance in any way, shape, or form. Dex is a flirt and he's charming. Also a little bit misogynist, but you know, that kind of comes with Casanova characters, so I digress. It's also weird to me because I still have a ton of very odd colored tabs that don't match my usual tabbing system, meaning my tabbing system is different. I don't like it. I mean, I like it because at least I'm using up those tabs, but I don't like it because it's different from every other romance book that I have. I have a usual like romance tabbing system for every single romance book, and this one, as well as You Deserve Each Other, do not match, and it's already driving me crazy. We'll see if I might end up changing this later on. So it's Tuesday. As per usual, I'm going to be going to my brother's. I think we might be having barbecue, or because of the weather, we might get pho. I'm not really sure yet. I also don't know what we're watching. We've kind of just been doing random movies. I'll figure that out whenever I get over, and maybe I will read some more tonight. Hopefully. It'd be really cool if I could like surpass the 100-page mark tonight. That means I at least read 100 pages today, and I will feel quite accomplished if I do so, but who knows if that'll happen. I ended up working from home again today. Turns out, actually, I'm probably going to be working from home for like the next 2 weeks. Not complaining about that, particularly with all the vlogging I have to do. That means I don't have to drive places, which is really nice, except when it comes to audiobooks. That is going to be kind of a problem. I could listen to them while taking Faith on walks. However, it's been raining for the last 3 days. Can't really do that. I did have fun at my brother's yesterday. I finally got them to start watching Wednesday with me because Josh and I enjoyed it so much, and I've actually just been wanting to rewatch it anyway. I don't really know if I have any plans for tonight. In regards to reading stuff, I did read further into Well Traveled. I actually got a fair amount of reading done this morning. I'm currently at page 170, and I'm not particularly enjoying this book. Okay, that's not fair. I'm not enjoying the romance in this book. I like Lulu as a character. I like the fact that she is trying to find something new for herself. She just hated her job. She quit it in this fit of a moment, and now she's just wondering, where do I go from here? What am I supposed to do? What's gonna make me happy? But at the same time, I don't want to waste all that time I dedicated to becoming a lawyer. That I like that she's trying to find a new normal for herself at like 37. Definitely gives me that millennial fiction feel. But I've hit the point, I think I actually am, yeah, I'm just at the point where she and Dex are kissing for the first time. And like they have this dramatic argument in the rain, which like I could see coming from a mile away. It didn't really make sense why they were arguing, honestly. And whilst arguing, Dex ends up confessing his feelings for Lulu. And he says something along the lines of, talking to you is the highlight of my day. And it really made me stop and think, have they talked about anything substantial throughout this book? I don't think so. I think every single interaction between them has been joking banter, bad flirting, and that's kind of it, honestly. So because of that, I feel no chemistry between them. Not romantically. Like maybe a little bit of lust, but even then it feels like a little bit of a stretch. So by this point where they're confessing their feelings to each other, I don't find it cute. I'm cringing, actually. Everything finally erupts and they kiss for the first time, and I'm just like, cool, I don't care. It's making me very Very sad. Ironically, I talked to two Catherines about this today. One is my friend Kat in my personal life, who she actually loved this one. She said this was her favorite, or like fighting for her favorite of the series. And then I talked with Catherine at Catherine 𝗖cie, and she said that she actually doesn't think this is a romance book. It is much more focused on Lulu and just her journey of self-discovery. And I'm very upset by this because so far with the series, my enjoyment had been going up as the series progressed. And the last book I really loved. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. So I was really hoping this was going to be a 5 stars. I can tell you right now it's not. I was actually debating on DNFing it for a little bit. I'm not going to because I do really like Lulu and I want to see what she ends up deciding on doing with her life. I also just feel like Dex doesn't have any personality apart from the fact that he is a player and he doesn't like that about himself. There's like this small little part where Jen DeLuca tries to showcase to us that he has become this laid-back player character because that's what everybody always sees him as, so that's what he decided to become. That doesn't make me feel bad for him. It felt really thin as far as trying to give Dex some personality, something, apart from being a sexy guitarist in a kilt, which also, like, he spends so much time in a kilt. Lulu constantly talks about the fact that he is in a kilt. Why the heck is he not in a kilt on the cover? Still curious about that. So that was a bunch of ranting. I'm sorry. I'm just bummed. I'm bummed because I really wanted to love this book. I think you can also tell I'm not having the best time with this book as a romance book because of how few tabs I have. I mean, I'm a tabbing machine usually. I really don't have that much at all. Good evening, friends. I meant to film this update when I actually still had makeup on my face. You know, that just didn't happen. I'm tired, it's late, I need to take a shower. But anyway, hi, it's Thursday. I had a fairly chaotic day of work, and then I had a doctor's appointment, which was fun because it was at a new doctor for the first time. I spent 15 minutes driving around trying to find parking at the office. It was insane, but at least my new doctor was very nice. And then when I got home, I knew my mom was going to be working late, so she asked if I would make this veggie pot pie that we've been trying to make for like a week now. You know, I'm not really complaining because I enjoy cooking, and then I got to put on my audiobook and sort of just work on that. That's a perfect segue into the fact that I started on Just Like Mother by Anne Heltzel. This was the pick from my digital TBR. It was a book off of last year's Goodreads Choice Awards. I think that's what it was. This is a cult book. That's all I knew. And we do see some like alternating perspectives between a past timeline and a current timeline with our main character Maeve, who apparently grew up in this matriarchal cult. And it's both creepy and fascinating. In the current timeline, she has just reconnected with her cousin, who was almost more like a sister to her when they were children growing up in the cult. They had very different experiences once they were rescued from it. Because of that, things are a little tension-filled. And then at the same time, Maeve is just incredibly happy to finally have somebody from her past back in her life, somebody she can connect with, particularly about this very traumatic thing. Except for the fact her cousin doesn't want to talk about it. Things just get freaking weirder though. The cousin character basically is like mommy blogger to the max. She has sort of created this entire thing around like life coaching, but specifically for parenting. Constantly this feeling that like something is not right. Something's off here. In regards to Maeve, I think being in her POV is very interesting because she is so filled with anxiety off of this very traumatic thing that happened in her childhood. Feels a lot of guilt around what happened as well, which we don't have like for sure answers there. But then at the same time, she realizes like something is not quite right with her cousin, and yet she keeps making excuses and trying to spend time with her. She feels this connection towards her. She feels like she does have a duty to her in this very unhealthy, almost codependent way. The discussions around motherhood in this are very interesting though. They're trying to do a good thing, for parents in bad situations. But like, it's so classist on one hand. It's also just not particularly healthy on the other. I'm gonna be honest here. They basically create this doll. Either people can utilize this humanoid AI baby to train themselves for becoming parents, or utilize it whenever they lose a child to help with their grieving process. And on both sides, it just feels really freaking weird. And like the way they treat it, like it's so weird. They treat it like it's a real baby, and it just makes me so uncomfortable. And I don't like dolls in the first place. It's one of the few things that really does freak me out. And so this is just, this has been nightmare fuel. I am about halfway through the book already, so I am enjoying it. It's definitely weird. I also just don't think it's going to be particularly surprising. I have so many guesses as to where this story is going to go. And on the opposite side, I did read some more into Well Traveled this morning. We are officially back in Willow Creek. I think that's the name of the town that the rest of the books are set in. And I love getting to see all of the characters from the previous books. We get to see some of Simon and Emily, Mitch and April, who are my favorites. And then obviously we've seen a good bit of Daniel and Stacy throughout. I like that Lulu has been standing up for Dex whenever people kind of badmouth him because of this character he sort of created for himself. And she points out, like, he's really not a bad guy. You're just assuming that based on the fact that he gets around. I guess I at least appreciate the fact that I feel like there's some connection there. However, I'm still not convinced by their romance at all. My focus is purely on Lulu. I have about 40 pages left of this, and honestly, I might finish it tonight if I just push through. Also, I've basically just sort of given up on tabbing because I'm just not feeling it that much. Unfortunately, I'm very bummed about that. So today is Friday and I had a insanely busy day. I was just completely swamped. I had 20 million things going on, had a last minute request due to taxes. It just reminded me that we're going into tax season, which tax season is really crazy at my job. So it's gonna be really fun. So it was very stressful. But then my mom and I had a esthetician appointment. There we go. So it was really nice and relaxing, at least. Surprisingly, Josh actually has tomorrow off, so I'm actually gonna spend the night over there tonight, meaning apart from the small amount of We Are Okay I got read while at the esthetician's office, I'm probably not gonna read anything else. I would love to say that I am gonna listen to an audiobook while I'm driving over, but since I had such a stressful day, I just don't think it's gonna happen. Usually when I'm really stressed out, rather than listening to audiobooks, I end up listening to music, which I'm really in the mood for some musicals. I'm gonna listen to Hairspray, Chicago, Hamilton. We'll see. Before I do that though, I'm trying to clean up my vanity a little bit because it's super messy. I finally caved and bought myself some of the Bite Zero Waste tooth whitening stuff, and I just like need to unpackage that. So I hit the halfway point into Just Like Mother. I think I might have already talked about that, but I realized that I actually do have a video idea that book will work for. I'm probably gonna have a full review in that video in the future, but because of that, I have to do a update since I'm at the halfway point and I haven't taken the time to type up a review or film that update. Basically, that means I probably won't be listening to any more of that until I actually take the time to film that update, which I don't know when that's gonna happen because chances are it probably won't happen tonight. Probably won't happen tomorrow night. That's a problem. At least in the fact that I'm supposed to technically read all of my TBR jar pulls in these weekly reading vlogs. Whoops. Weird. They gave me a sample pack of the toothpaste tabs, even though I use these. I'm on the subscription service, so weird. I probably won't do this right now, but I might do it tomorrow night. Anyway, so I did finish Well Traveled, and it was fine. I just never was convinced by the romance at all. I felt so mid-tier about it. It was there, but not super prevalent, which is a real shame, seeing as how, I mean, this is the final book in a romance book series. Kind of odd that you would not, you know, go all out in this last one. I do think it was a hair bit spicier than the previous books, but I don't know. I'm one of those people that, like, if I'm reading a romance book for romance, if I'm not interested in the romance, then the spice scenes don't really keep me engaged either. I just kind of find them cringy and eye-rolly, which is a shame. The idea of Dex and Lulu was very cute, but I just felt like we never really saw their relationship actually develop, which is a big part of why I didn't care about the romance, because I felt like it really came out of left field. And while I thought it was pretty cool how the author talked about tarot in this one, I'm just personally not a big believer in tarot. It was cool, but like not something that super won me over either. I don't know, like just overall this book was very mid. I'm just disappointed, but I guess at the very least I can say that I finished out a series, so that's positive. And I also got a book off of my own TBR. Anyway, as I mentioned previously, I started into We Are Okay by Nina LaCour. This was one of the books on my 10 books to read in 2023 list. Though I haven't gotten super far into it, I am intrigued. We're following our main character is at college. She is actually going to be staying in the dorm over Christmas break. She will be the only person on campus, and she is having her high school best friend, who she hasn't spoken to in months, come stay with her for a few days. She's both excited for it but also nervous because she's curious to see how the relationship has changed since she hasn't actually been participating in the friendship for months now. This is a big thing of eyeshadow, good lord. I've just hit the point where her friend has arrived. Unfortunately, I don't remember their names. It's kind of awkward. At the same time, you can feel like they sort of fall back into their normal ways, but there's definitely this tension going on because they haven't spoken in so long. It's very convincing as far as like the relationship these two characters are supposed to have is going. Similar to Watch Over Me, there is this feeling of sort of melancholy that's just encasing the entire book. It's not particularly creepy, but still sad. So it's Saturday, I got back from Josh's and I need to be a little productive tonight, which is why I actually put on some makeup so I wouldn't be able to make excuses to not film. I've gotten a few updates done, thankfully, but I did want to let you guys know that I hit the halfway point into We Are Okay. I listened to the audiobook while I was driving back from Josh's. I am enjoying this. I don't know, like I really didn't know what to expect going into Nina LaCour's work, but thus far I am surprised I'm enjoying them so much, just because I've found I've really aged out of YA contemporaries. LaCour's writing is just so impactful. So simple. I'm really impressed by it, which I think also keeps me engaged. Her character creation is very strong. The relationship between the characters is incredibly strong. I really like our main character in this one, Marin, and her relationship with her grandfather, as well as her relationship with her best friend, Mabel. I don't think I ever actually told you guys what this book was about, but to be fair, I didn't really know. I mostly picked this up off of Josh's recommendation because it was sold to him as reminiscent to the video game Life is Strange, which is one of his absolute favorites, and I can totally see that. Marin, our main character, definitely reminds me of both Chloe and Max in different aspects. Those are the two main characters in Life is Strange, if you're unaware. But essentially, we're alternating back and forth between two timelines where we are following Marin. In the past timeline, she is living with her grandfather in San Francisco. She's about to graduate from high school. Her relationship with her best friend Mabel is slowly starting to become a little bit more serious in the fact that they might actually no longer be platonically interested in one another. Whereas the current timeline, we're following Marin. She is now on her Christmas break from college. She has not spoken to Mabel in months, and her grandfather has died. But Mabel comes to stay with her for a few days and is trying to convince Marin to have her home be with Mabel and her family, and she can still come back to college, but at least then she will have a home to return to. As I was saying, the relationships between Marin, her grandfather, Marin, and Mabel, all of them very well done. Marin's character on the whole is incredibly created. The atmosphere is absolutely fantastic, no matter whether we are in San Francisco or if we're in New York. In both of them, I feel like a fly on the wall. Somber tone throughout this entire book is oppressive, but there are occasional moments of light and happiness. I really love those all the more because of it. I hope that we're going to see Marin finally starting to acknowledge that she is not dealing with her grief well, and it's clear that she has slipped into a depressive state. She's completely isolated herself from everyone who cared about her by running away to New York. I care for her, and I want her to be able to both grieve her grandfather, but also find happiness and move on with her life and not just be stuck in this rut alone, because loneliness is another aspect that is incredibly strong within the book. So yes, I am definitely enjoying this. I am hoping that I can try and read some more of this tonight. I also am gonna try and work on Just Like Mother, but I have no clue if I'm gonna finish both of those books tonight, and I usually end my vlogs on Saturdays. So basically that means in the end I finished 2 books this week, which is pretty good, and about half of 2 other books. All in all, fairly decent, except for the fact that I am going to be starting a whole new vlog for Rom-Comathon tomorrow. Awesome.